Today, I'm going to show you how to pack the wheel bearings on your classic car. You can see the brake rotor moving. That is a loose wheel bearing. It's not in the ball joints. I've already checked that. It's 100% in the wheel bearings. So the first thing we're going to do here is take the dust cover off. Sometimes you can strike them with a soft hammer and they'll come loose, but a lot of times you'll dent them doing that. So I like to just get a pry bar or a small screwdriver, just go in that lip, and you can just work it right out. And then that way you're not smashing the dome down. What happens if you smash that down is it can drag on the nut on the inside or on the cotter key. If there's a dent in it, it can drag in here and cause noise. All right, so the grease and the nut and everything in here looks really new. So I'm guessing somebody's recently been in here. We may not have a lot of work to do to repack these. I may not even clean them if they're super clean, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart because we definitely have some play in here. And you can see that right there. You can see that brake rotor moving, which means the nut's not tight, not even wrench tight, which tells me whoever did this job didn't put enough preload on the bearing. But first thing we gotta do is take the caliper off. Right off. You don't want to stretch. I'm going to lift the caliper right off and set it up here. Don't want it to hang from the brake line. The brake pads kind of fell out on this one. And then there should be a washer and it has a keyway. So there's a little tab right there that goes in the slot. And there's your outer wheel bearing. So there's your inner, and it's held in with a seal. That's just a grease seal to keep the grease in. So I like to take a long punch and just get it in there on the race or the solid part of the inner wheel bearing, and you gotta go in a circle, and you should be able to just knock it right out. It should take the seal out with it. And a lot of times you can even do that since the bearing is what pushed the seal out. You can reuse the seal, but I got brand new ones for this. There it is. So down inside here is your race. If you're replacing your wheel bearings, you need to take a punch, and you go in here with a flat punch and knock those races out, and then you can drive new ones in. These wheel bearings I think are going to be just fine. I'm going to clean them up a little bit and we're going to inspect them, but I'm going to repack them, put them back in with new seals, and I'll show you how to adjust it. All right, so I cleaned these up in the parts washer, and what you're looking for is to see if there's any pits in here. And these things look like brand new, so I just don't think they got them tight enough. But we're gonna pack them and reinstall them. I'll show you how to do that. All right, guys. So just got some wheel bearing grease here. We got our clean bearings, and I'm a little bit old school on how I do this. I do it the way my grandpa showed me. I'll be done in less than 5 minutes. We'll get these packed. But what I do is I start with a nice glove on my hand, and I hold it in my knuckle like that. And this inside gap here where the needle bearings are, you're going to force grease through there until you see it come out through the top. So get a good glob. Start on the inside, and you'll see it smaller, so you'll see the grease popping out through the top groove. And you just do that all the way around. It's not rocket science. It's just packing grease up in behind the bearings to make sure it's lubricated fully. And this bearing's so small that I've already got it packed all the way around. So this one is ready to go on the outside. We'll set this one aside just temporarily until we get the grease seal back in. So I got a new grease seal here, and we're going to just check it to make sure it's right. The diameter looks right, everything looks right, so they give me the right one. And I'm just going to set it on the brake rotor here. And just tap it in there, and that's it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe this spindle off. Make sure you get all the crud off of that, or it'll ruin your seal. Threads, everything look good on this one. A little bit of grease where the bearings go. And we're going to slide this on. You'll feel that's the seal going in right there. So here's your outer bearing. That one's we've already packed. All right, so we've got the rotor on. We got our inner and outer wheel bearing packed. Outer wheel bearings in there. Here's your washer. You have the little tang there. It goes in the slot. Your castle nut. And I like to pay attention to where the cotter keyhole is. And this one, it's actually going at an angle right here. But here's the important part. To avoid the problem that this customer is having with them being loose, is you always want to set some preload on these tapered bearings. And the way I do that is I tighten it all the way up until the bearings are tight, and then I usually back it off like one flat. So I'll show you what that looks like. All right. So right now, you see, you can tighten this thing really tight to where the wheel almost doesn't want to turn. But what I like to do is tighten it up that tight where it's really hard to turn. And what that does is that seats your bearings. See how hard that rotor is to turn? All right. So that's seating those bearings in there. Then I'm going to back it off. Okay. So we're free again. And then I'm going to go until it's snug, but not over tight. So there we just passed our hole. I'm probably going to go to this flat and line our cotter keyhole up. And right there, it feels just about perfect. If I went to that flat, we're going to be ultra tight. It out a little bit. All right, so cotter keys down into the notch of the castle. And then I take this outer one, the outer leg, and I bend it up. And I want to tap it all the way against the spindle. All right, and that is because if you pop the cap on here, the dust cap, and the end of this cotter key or that is dragging the cap, that cap is turning, the spindle does not, and you'll hear it scrape. So I've had a lot of noise issues. People bringing me cars, hearing the squeaking, take it apart, and it's that cotter key rubbing the dust cap because it's either bent or damaged. And that leg looks like it's going to rub the dust cap. I'm going to take some cutters. I'm going to clip that off. All right, so I'm going to take some side cutters in here, clip that off. I don't ever like to bend both of them up because it makes them really difficult to remove or even reuse. You pretty much ruin it every time. So Now you can see the brake rotor has a good amount of drag on it, but it's not too tight, but all the play is out of it. So all we have to do now is put the brake caliper back on. All right, so the last thing we have to do, we're going to drive our dust cap back on. And we can see that our cotter key is going to be clear of the cap. And again, soft face hammer, that's all it takes. All right, guys, we're going to put this wheel back on and move to the other side. Repeat the same process, and this 70 Nova will be good to go. I hope you guys learned something about Packer wheel bearings, and you'll tackle this job on your classic car. It's really pretty easy, pretty straightforward, just a few minor things to pay attention to. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it, and subscribe to my channel.